My fellow Nerdikins, welcome back to another episode of That's So Nerdy. Today we've got the winning deck profile of the from the last video, and it is going to be Fuse Zamasu Supreme Strike. This is an older leader. He is from BT7, so before Unison Block even started. On the front side, Goku Black and Zamasu, and when he attacks, you get to search the top 5 of your deck for a Goku Black or a Zamasu card and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck, and then you awaken when your opponent has 3 energy. There's no other way to awaken, just when your opponent has 3 energy. Then on the awaken side, it's got an auto that when this card attacks, it's the same auto as the front side. You search top 5 for a Zamasu or Goku Black card. It's got a second auto that when this card attacks a leader card, it gets minus 5,000 power for the turn. That can be detrimental sometimes, but that's why I run the Unison that I run in this deck. It's got an activate main once per turn. If your opponent has 8 or more energy, choose up to 4 cards from your opponent's life and place them under their deck in any order. So that's the main win con right there. Activate main once per turn. For 1 energy, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards and return it to its owner's hand. So that is the leader and what the leader does. So since the leader minuses himself when he swings at a leader, I had to figure out a way to consistently be able to make it so my leader would be able to deal damage to a leader. So I decided to run Son Goku Power of the Golden Great Ape, because it's +1 gives your leader plus 10k for the turn. So it turns him into a 25k leader if he's swinging at anything but a leader. But if he swings at a leader, he's 20k. It's also got an activate main. It's been errated. It says 2 energy on here, but it's actually 4 energy, and you get to draw two cards. Yeah, draw 2 cards, and then the -4, you get to shuffle. That part's been errated as well. It says 5 mono blue cards, but it's actually just 1 mono blue card that you get to shuffle back into your deck, and then you get to draw 2 cards. Alright, getting into the battle cards. The only 1 drop we run in this deck, and one of the few cards that aren't actually archetypal for the deck, is Baby Successor of the Tuffle King, because it is a counter attack, and when you play it, you get to look at the bottom card of your deck, and if it's a counter card, any kind of counter play, counter attack. If it's a counter card, you get to add it to your hand, and then you take 1 card from your hand and stick it at the bottom of your deck. And you'll notice in this deck, it is very, very, very counter heavy. But like I said, that's our only 1 drop in the deck. So moving right along, we play 4 copies of Zamasu the Eliminator, because it is an amazing card. It is the counterplay for the deck, so it's searchable off of the Tuffle King right there. I mean, everybody should know what Zamasu does, but if they don't, what he does is, for 1 blue and 1 yellow, you bounce back a 4 or less that is attempting to be played, and then you also get to tap down something on the board that doesn't have barrier and draw a card. So really, really good. Moving right along, we're getting into more of the 2 drops. This is another counterpart to Zamasu here. We're playing 4 copies of Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black Divine Prosperity. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. He is a counterattack for 1 blue and 1 green. If when he's played, if your opponent has, he's a hard negate, so he negates the attack, play the card, and when he's played, if your opponent has 3 or less energy, you choose one of their battle cards in rest mode and ramp it into their energy in rest mode. So that's one of the ways to get closer to the win con for the leader. There's a couple more in this deck that I will obviously go through, and but yeah, the main idea is to get your opponent to 8 energy and just bottom deck their last 4 life, which I think works really well in this format, especially since everybody wants to get under 4 life. That way they can Z Awaken if they have a Z leader in their deck. Unfortunately, the protection that this deck has doesn't really help it against like the big deck, one of the big decks in the meta, two of the big decks in the meta actually, because anyone who knows anything about the game knows that Indestructible is weak against red. So I think this deck has potential, but I think I would have to change a lot of things in it in order to be able to run it against the red decks. And I actually do have the stuff for the Sin deck coming on the way, so I actually can test it out, see how to try and play against it. But this card, getting back to Divine Prosperity, it's got a second one that you can choose, that if your opponent has 2 or more energy, you choose up to one of your blue energy, or 2 of your blue energy and switch it to active mode. So that's going to be every energy that you charge in this deck, because there isn't an energy that you charge that isn't blue. You do charge multicolor energy, but it will always be blue, because there are no mono yellow cards to charge. Next we'll go over our super combo. Pretty simple. It's the Zamasu super combo. Just extra defense, because my leader's blue. I get to, when I super combo with it, I get to tap down one of their battle cards or their leader card. So if your opponent's swinging with one of their battle cards trying to proc one of their autos or something, you can tap down their leader and stop their leader from drawing on swing if their leader draws on swing. But he's also really good because he can tap down a pressuring battle card. Alright, moving right along, we've got 4 copies of Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black Inviting the Darkness. This is another way to ramp energy into your opponent's energy as well as yours, because he's a 10k with barrier, 5 combo power. So he's helpful in getting some Z energy as well, because the Tuffle King, the super combo, the Goku Black are all good to, well, the super combo you're not going to play out, but after you use the Tuffle King, just combo him off, charge him to Z energy. After you use Goku Black, combo him off, charge him to Z energy. But when you play him for 3 energy, you ramp 1 card into your energy, and then at the end of your opponent's turn, they reveal the top card of their deck. If it's a battle card, they ramp it into their energy in rest mode, and if it's not a battle card, they shuffle their deck and we draw a card. So it has benefit all around. And then we're running 3 copies of another counterattack, and that's going to be Fuse Zamasu the Cunning. It is a counterattack, has indestructible, Aegis, 14,000 power, and a permanent that if your leader card is a Zamasu card, and it's your opponent's turn, you can reduce the energy cost of this by 2. So it becomes another 2-cost counterattack, which is nice because if you have the Divine Prosperity in your hand and this guy, you can use Divine Prosperity to counter out of something, restand the energy with Divine Prosperity, and then counter with Zamasu here, and after that, you have Aegis available to you. And for those who don't know, Aegis is a defensive auto, or I guess it would be an activate battle, not an auto, I think. But you pitch a blue and yellow card to restand 2 energy. So moving into some more of our multicolor cards, we're running 2 copies of SSA Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black Epochal Schemer. It is a 4-drop. It does have deflect, so it's gonna hit the board. It's got energy exhaust because it's multicolor, obviously. Double strike, and when it's played, you get to play out 4 shadow tokens, right? Yeah, you get to play out 4 shadow tokens and then they gain blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then at the end of your turn, you get to restand one of your multicolor energy if he's still on the board. Sometimes you'll get to proc that off, other times you won't. It's not super imperative that you're able to proc that ability. But it is nice when you get to, because it's always nice to manipulate your energy. And I know that sounds weird to say in blue, because typically blue is all about manipulating your energy, but this one only kind of does it, for a blue deck anyway. And then we're running 4 copies of Fuse Zamasu, Advocate for Evil, because he is a free Union Patara, and if you are at, if you have 3 or more energy, you can use cards in your energy as fodder for the Union Patara skill. Which does come in handy, it really does. And then the next card we're mainly running, because it is a check land, but it is a good card to have because he is nice and strong, but it's Fuse Zamasu, Exterminating Force. 35k double strike, indestructible blocker with Aegis. You evolve for 2 of any color, 1 yellow, 1 blue, and then he has blocker if your opponent, or if he's in rest mode and you activate Aegis, you can, or Aegis on this card, you can restand him, draw a card, and then you get to restand 2 energy as well for the Aegis itself. So it is a really good card in this deck, but I mostly use it for the check land ability, as well as turning on the Zamasu the Eliminator for another check land if I need it. And then we're running 3 copies of Fuse Zamasu the Divine Immortal. 35k indestructible dual attack, evolves on top of a 5-cost Zamasu for 4 blue energy, and it's got an activate main / battle that if you place this card in your drop area, you can play a Tragedy Overground from your deck, drop, life, no, from your hand, drop, deck, or energy. So the only places it's off limits are is in your life and in your warp. The rest of the places you can take Tragedy Overground from, slap it on the board, and we'll go over what Tragedy Overground does when we get there. So in the build that was featured in the video, I'm running 4 Sensu Bean, but what I'm gonna do is I'm actually cutting Sensu Bean back to 2, because I don't really use it in this deck that often. But I'm gonna cut Sensu Bean back by 2, and I'm going to add in 2 copies of the new Goku Black from the anniversary set. The Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black Mortals Be Gone, I believe, is the name of the card, and he's going to be replacing 2 of these Sensu Bean. And what he does is he's got an activate main / battle that if your leader is mono blue and you have a Z battle card in your battle area, I believe, you can play him for 1. He's 20k double striker, and he also has board removal. He removes 1 thing off the board, not ignoring barrier. So that's what's going to be taking 2 of these Sensu Bean spots. I am still going to run 2 Sensu Beans, but in this build I really don't think 4 is necessary. And then we're running 4 copies of D-Magic because it's blue and it's D-Magic, so that's kind of a no-brainer. And then we're running 3 copies of Chilled Army Reinforcements because the blocker token negates are just that good. And then Tragedy Overground. This is what you're going to be playing out with the boss card. When it hits the field, you wipe your opponent's whole board of battle cards, ignoring barrier, place them into your opponent's energy in rest mode, and then your opponent, if your opponent tries to play anything with an energy cost of 4 or higher for the rest of the game, it just gets placed in their energy instead. So that shuts off a lot of decks. And if it weren't for the fact that like Indestructible was so weak against red, I think this would be a very viable strategy to play against Sin and Goku and Vegeta, because well, Goku and Vegeta wouldn't be able to play any cards, and Sin would be able to play a couple cards, but they'd be locked out of their big power cards. So before we get into the Z deck, we'll obviously go over what the STR is. I think it's pretty obvious considering all of the stuff that's in the deck. We're going Baby Hatch, because you want to with this deck, you don't want your opponent to pretty much be doing anything. And since you don't have to go down to a certain life total to awaken, and when you do awaken, you don't have to take any life, you can stay at 8 life for as long as you like, or as long as you need to. There is not really a whole lot of pressure you feel with this deck. And if you look at it, I'm sure you can tell that there's no counters. The only real barrier removal is Tragedy Overground, but that's because you want to get your opponent to establish their board. Because if you can, as I'm sure you guys saw in the gameplay video, if you haven't, spoilers, but if your opponent lets themselves get down to 4 life and you are able to get them up to 8 energy, which is fairly easy to do in this deck because you can ramp your opponent with this Goku, you can ramp your opponent with this Goku, ramp your opponent with Tragedy Overground, and it's just so defensive that you just get your opponent down to 4 life and then it's game over. Activate main, you win. Going over the Z deck, we've got 2 copies of Oolong because we are charging yellow energy, so we are able to play Oolong. It's not as strong since we're not playing Mira, but I mean, I don't really feel the need, because you don't really build that big of a drop area in this deck that fast, and you're not really relying on your pressure to win you the game. I mean, I guess you kind of are, but you only have to take 4 of their life instead of taking 8 of their life. We are running 2 of the SSB Son Goku Evolved Defenders. It is a deflect double strike. When it's played, you get to choose one of your opponent's leaders, unisons, or battle cards in rest mode, and it can't attack until the end of your opponent's next turn, so it shuts down whatever card you choose. And then if this card is in rest mode, when your opponent plays a card, you may place one of your Z energy in your drop area. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards or unison cards and switch it to rest mode and negate this skill for the turn. So just more control. I am running 2 copies of Cell Awakening the Created Deflect Critical. This is mainly for after I've played Tragedy Overground. If I'm playing against a deck that Tragedy Overground doesn't really prevent them from playing battle cards, it's good to have access to Cell for another board wipe, because I can just take all their cards, stick them under here. Well, as long as they don't have barrier, but I could take all their cards, stick them under here, and then that just adds more defense for me. Just good stuff all around. And then the last Z battle card is we're playing 1 copy of SSB Vegito Godly Spirit, because it's a 30k triple strike barrier blocker, really good. And at the end of your turn, you don't get to proc the first ability because your leader is in a Trunks future, but the second ability, at the end of your turn, you switch this card to active mode, and your opponent places 1 card from their hand at the bottom. Oh, I choose up to one of my opponent's battle cards, place it at the bottom of their owner's deck, and my opponent places one of the cards in their hand at the bottom of their deck. So it's hand control and board control all in one. But that right there is my Fuse Zamasu Supreme Strike deck list. And I love this deck. It is so much fun to play. It fits my playstyle so well because I just get to sit back, stop my opponent from doing anything, and then I win the game. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it is what it is. Not all my decks are like that. Some of them go straight for face, but I do like this playstyle as well. So if you like what you saw, go ahead and smash that like button, comment and subscribe, hit that bell. That way you get notified anytime I drop a new video. And if there's anything, any suggestions that you have or anything that you would like to see on the channel, I will do my best to make that happen. Y'all have a good night and stay nerdy.